right, good evening. We want to call to order the regular meeting of the South Euclid Lyndhurst Board of Education. Today is Tuesday, April 25th for this rescheduled meeting. It is now 5:36. Mr. Hill, may we get a roll call?
Ms. Falkenberg?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Ms. King?
Here.
Ms. Lee?
Ms. Lee is on an approved absence.
Mrs. Ryan?
Here.
We can go right into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we can go right into item 2, communications. I believe with all the updates down in Columbus and the training session that Ms. King went to, we do not have any reports today.
That is correct.
So we will resume those reports in May. If you guys have something fruitful then, that'll be great. Okay, we can go right into 2.2, Superintendent's report.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'd like to say happy spring, but it doesn't quite feel like spring. We've been busy with our spring sports and are getting ready for our spring musical, which I'm seeing the kids practice. This is exciting. I looked for in May to give an update with regards to our strategic planning. What we're currently doing is taking the survey results and working with our administrative team, including our building principals and our central office, and really focusing on what those results are. It's kind of interesting. We talked about pillars, which we've known as goals before. And so what we did was we looked at some of the top 5 areas that people wanted us to focus on. And when we looked at and this is just draft, but I'd like to just share out a little bit. A big thing that came out was the word readiness. And it was about college readiness, career readiness, life skills, and just being ready for that next part of your life. And so we really looked at maybe that instead of just being college and career readiness, it really should be prepared for success. And because, underneath that could be anything. It could be going to the military, it could be going to college, it could be getting a career from after college, or it could be getting a career right from Excel Tech, whatever it is, and just really looking at those things, how, in SEL, do we prepare you for success? And obviously that would encompass a lot of different things with regards to academics, co-curriculars, and things like that. I think that's the key thing, is that we want to prepare our young folks for success after they graduate. The other area that came out in the survey that looked like was with regards to student well-being, staff well-being. These are things that we showed at a previous board meeting for those of you just tuning in. It was about, safety came up, and there were just other things. But when we read deeper into it, really wasn't about safety and security. We do have 2-door entry systems. We have near 400 cameras. We've done a lot with our police and fire departments. I think it really kind of came down to sometimes is maybe the learning environment in the classroom. And I think that's the focus that we are looking at as our second pillar is learning environments. And, everything can go into that, climate, culture, what are we doing? Kind of like the curriculum is the what, learning environments is the how. And I think that's some of the things that we could address, a lot of the areas that were in the survey. And then the third one, really about, I think it goes back to, it takes a village to raise a child. The Ohio Department of Education talks about the whole child framework in the 12 sections. And so we really kind of felt that last pillar would, to encompass that would be stakeholder relationships. And that would be, that's really important. It would be internal stakeholder relationships, which could be, again, employees, staff, parents, students, of course. And then you have your external stakeholders, which is, everything from our mayors, our civic leaders, our faith-based groups, our businesses, and those connections. So we're really some great dialogue to really take the feedback that we got from those folks that did the surveys, and how do we pare that down into the pillars. And then, of course, what we're working on, in order to have prepared for success and to have positive learning environments and good stakeholder relationships, there's going to be some imperatives that we have to have in place in order for that to be successful. So we have not gotten down to any action steps or initiatives. I think it's important to really hone in on our focus. So I look to have a lot more done at our May board meeting. So that concludes my report.
Thank you for that, Dr. Reed. Mr. Hill, do we have any public comment?
None.
Perfect. Hearing none. We can go right into item 3.1, the minutes. The minutes of the regular meeting of March 21st, 2023 will be approved as recorded or corrected. Furthermore, the reading of these minutes will be waived. May we have a motion to approve item 3.1?
So moved.
Ms. Ryan, Ms. Falkenberg, any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. King.
Aye.
Item 4, Treasurer's Report.
Good evening. I will be sending it out to you guys through email, just a quick report on this before I get into my items. I will be sending out the 5-year forecast update, probably by Friday, to give you guys some time to look through it and have questions ready to go, and then I'll do the same thing that I normally do. I'll present it at the work session, and then we'll approve it at the regular meeting for next month. So then now, item 4.1, for approval, financial reports for month-end March 2023. Item 4.2, the bank reconciliation for month-end March 2023. Item 4.3, the investment earnings for month-end March 2023. Item 4.4, we have some donations to approve. Item 4.5, it's approval of the then and now purchase orders. Item 4.6, it's the tax rates for approval for tax year 2023. And item 4.7, approval of all treasurer's items.
May we get a motion to approve items 4.1 through 4.6?
So moved.
Second. Ms. King. Ms. Falkenberg, any questions or comments?
Just a comment again, we always appreciate those who have donated for our kids' success. It's so nice to see.
Hearing no other questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. King,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Superintendent's items, 5.
Okay. Under certified personnel, recommend to the Board of Education, item 5.1, appointments, resignations, and we have some paid leaves of absences, unpaid leave of absences, extended learning opportunities, which we'll hear more about next month, and then for an overnight field trip to our Washington, D.C. Give me 1 second. That's 5.1. 5.2. Really exciting. We've been working on this for a little bit.
Hold on
Oh,
one
wait.
second. Do you got a split?
Yeah,
Are
there's,
they
you
just
know,
split for no
yeah,
reason, really?
yeah. What happened was, I think,
Okay.
just let me. They should all be lumped together, but there seems to be
Okay.
an extra voting item we're going to.
Make sure there wasn't something that needed
Yep.
to be isolated.
Nope.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Moving on to 5.2, we're really excited about, if you've heard about esports, it's quite a big thing. It's a different way for our young folks to enjoy gaming, I guess. And right now, we don't have a position, usually just like for coaches and supplemental positions. Well, here we are in 2023, we actually don't have a position that in our collective bargaining agreement. And so what tonight we're asking you to approve so this can move forward, that we can have a staff be an advisor or coach with regards to our upcoming esports that we'll be offering for our students. And then under 5.3 would actually, that's the actual one, is approving the certified personnel items for 5.1 and 5.2.
May we get a motion to approve 5.1 and 5.2?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Ryan, Ms. Falkenberg?
Whatever.
Yes. Any questions or comments?
I've already seen
So-
Miss Marshall posting about
Man,
summer,
yes.
and she's all excited. The team seems excited, so that's always fun. And the esports stuff, it's nice to see. I mean, there's so many colleges that are starting this up, and so many opportunities for scholarships, so that's great that we're giving a chance to our kids to participate as well.
Yeah, it's, we're working on an actual physical plant for them, but maybe we'll do a field trip once it gets in place. And I already talked to Sylvia Marshall in May for the work session. She will preview this summer's extended learning opportunity for our children.
So
Well,
do you, go ahead.
An old lady. Could someone explain esports, please?
We're gonna turn it over to the esports expert.
We love you, Captain.
It's okay. We will. I know Mr. Capo has been working with that, so I will allow him to maybe explain where we're at with that process.
Sure. So esports, there's actually a new league in Ohio. It's called esports, Ohio Esports, and it's a full conference. It's going to be sanctioned by the OHSAA in 2 years, and each day there's a different game that kids can compete in.
You-
Yep,
Oh,
on the
yeah, like.
And a monitor, yeah.
Yep.
Computer games, yeah.
So the room that we're looking to build is, there'll be 24 monitors inside of there. Students have a headset on, and they compete against other schools. Some of the surrounding areas that have one, Bedford has one, Cleveland Heights is coming. Euclid, actually Bill sent me a job, what's that? Yeah, the job description today for something similar
Nice.
to what they're doing. So it's a whole new sport, and actually Ryan Morton and I met with, and Jamar Ross met with, it's actually a gaming club at Brush right now. I think it started under your leadership, and we met with the kids, and it was pretty cool just to see their excitement and their enthusiasm when we rolled out the esports logo, showing them where we were going. So
Okay.
yeah, it's a totally different avenue, and like Ms. Ryan said, we actually
A lot of
took,
scholarships, yeah.
8th grade students over to Cleveland State to tour their facilities, their new esports facilities, and the scholarships and different
Yeah.
offerings. And also includes production, you can do announcing, marketing, there's all kinds of different avenues inside of it.
Wow. Thank you.
So I was thinking when some of my kids were talking about it, not that I want to go this route, but they're betting on them and they're making money. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's almost like the electronic sports, how they sit at their house and play video games. They have like multiple TVs in some places, and their friends are playing from different locations, and it's like entertaining. Like you would sit back and watch a boxing match. People sit back and watch them compete on
Wow.
the esports, and I didn't think it was that popular until
Yeah, just getting there.
my kids started telling me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And yes, so it's more than just them sitting there. I know if you go on like YouTube, you will find some videos and you will see a guy playing, and I thought he was talking to himself. I was like, why is he sitting here talking to himself playing a video game? But he's got a headset on,
Yeah.
he's got other monitors, and he's guiding you through what he's doing while his other friends are playing, and other people are watching, and some of them are betting on the game.
Wow.
So it's very high strung.
Yeah, all those gaming.
So that's gonna be interesting.
Yep.
Any further questions or comments?
Nope.
Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. King.
Aye.
Item 6,
Okay, under 6.0, classified personnel. 6.1, recommending to the Board of Education to approve the following personnel items for classified staff. Again, in this section, you'll see appointments, changes in assignments, some resignations, retirement, leaves of absences, and again, appointment for our summer programs, learning camp, and it's seasonal cafe workers, and then we have our seasonal employees for the summertime. Whoops, there's more. Again, as we're always looking for some good substitutes as well. So approval of some substitutes for custodial maintenance and transportation.
may we get a motion to approve items, 6.1?
I know it's good.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Falkenberg and Ms. King. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Under 7.0, supplemental contracts. Looks like we have just one there this evening. Assistant softball coach for Brush for approval.
May we get a motion to approve item 7.1?
So moved. Second.
Ms. King, Ms. Ryan. Any questions or comments?
Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. King,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones.
Aye.
Under 8.0, we're into the business items, recommending for approval 8.1, the purchase of a lift for the transportation department. I'm assuming these are for our buses.
Yes, that is for our buses. That is a portable lift that will make our excellent, relatively new transportation depot into a state-of-the-art transportation depot. We do not have a lift for our mechanics to work in. This lift will allow them to work either indoors or outdoors, depending upon the weather.
Okay, thank you. 8.2, recommend approval of the private transportation. Sometimes we cannot accommodate, and many school districts have had to utilize private transportation. Under 8.3, this is something that we do on a regular basis, I should say yearly. It is a student accident insurance. We have to offer the listed insurance, not that folks have to take it, but we do have to offer it to our folks on a yearly basis. And then 8.4, recommending the approval of the business items 8.1 through 8.3.
May we get a motion to approve items 8.1 through 8.3?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Ryan and Ms. King, any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones.
Aye.
Under 9.0, we're into the items for academics, technology, and innovation, recommending approval of item 9.1, Partners for Success. As you can see, we are actually, for the fiscal agent for auxiliary services to our non-publics. 9.2, as I mentioned last meeting, we wish and thank Charbel Zechariah, who was part of our AV staff. He has moved on to another position outside of the school district, and we're happy to bring on Mr. James Fruit's Creative LL Consulting Agreement, who's going to provide us video services for the remainder of the year. So we're really excited. Thank you. We have lots of good things to tape, and we're happy that our students will be able to continue as well under Mr. Fruits' support and leadership. And then under 9.3, I'm sorry, approving academic technology and innovation items 9.1 and 9.2.
May we get a motion to approve items 9.1 and 9.2?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Falkenberg and Ms. Ryan, any questions or comments?
Yeah, just a question. So it seems from what you said that our students will still be able to work with
Yes.
James Fruits?
Yes, that's correct. That was important too, yep.
Okay.
Now, forgive me, I did not open that file that was on there. That was probably the point where I fell asleep. But, so will he be on site like Charbel was? I
Wait.
noticed it just says consultings, and typically when we hear consultings, we use them as we need them. So I just want to kind of elaborate
So
forward.
two things. First of all, I mean, for all of our big events, obviously, graduation, a lot of the spring events we have come up and be there. I think Mr. Capo, when talks about their students after school.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so we currently have 4 to 6 students on payroll, and Mr. Fruits met with them, some of them in here right now,
Okay.
and worked with Mr. Forty.
Okay.
And actually, between one of the administrators at the high school and Mr. Fruits, the kids are in there doing their thing every day after school. Still gonna be running the production for the play, all those things. Nothing's changed on that end. So kudos to the students and Mr. Fruits. They really
Right.
stepped up and made this thing a go. So we all about fell out of our chairs.
We had like 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks to pull this together, and I think we've done a pretty good job with, making sure that things are going to run as smoothly as they can.
Okay. And I'm going to ask this question, but I don't mean to put you guys on the spot, so you don't have to speak out loud. You can just nod. So do you guys have like a hierarchy of students where your more seasoned ones are pouring into the ones below? And so as you guys navigate away on the top, the younger ones are coming up with the knowledge that you all have?
Mhm.
You feel comfortable with that too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
Thank you. That's all I wanted.
That's from our behind the scenes,
Yeah.
folks.
Right. Hearing no other questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. King.
Under 10.0, student services and strategic partnership, yes. 10.1, the Learn Well agreement. What you're going to see is, really, you've seen this over the last several months, but we are going to do a blanket one because we, from time to time, we never know when a student is going to need services from outplacements. And so we do have a agreement with Learn Well will help keep that services for our students continuous. And so Learn Well is one of them. The second one is a service agreement with Vargo Consulting. This is actually going to be specific to our restorative practice training that we are going to provide for some of our staff. I think we looked at maybe our principals and our assistant principals and some of our support folks. And then the addendum to 10.3 is with our Quick Med, our clinic staff. We are we are transitioning into Infinite Campus. And with that, that is a really huge undertaking. We want to make sure that all of our immunizations and all the student data is correct, and it does take time. So it's very difficult to run your clinic and be able to input that data, and we want to get the data right. So when there are some slow moments, they are working on it, our clinic staff, but it's we want to take advantage of days when students aren't there, that they're actually taking the student information and inputting it correctly, so we can make that transition smooth to Infinite Campus. And then item 10.4 is approving student services and strategic partnership items 10.1 through 10.3.
May we get a motion to approve items 10.1 through 10.3?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. King, Ms. Falkenberg, any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. King,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan.
Aye.
Under 11.0 exceptional students, recommend approval of item 11.1, confidential settlement agreement between the SEL schools and a family of a student outplaced. 11.2, approval of a confidential mediation agreement between the SEL schools and a family of a student placed out of the district. 11.3, recommending peak potential therapy. This is an extended year service, okay, for a student. And then 11.4 is recommending the approval of exceptional student items 11.1 through 11.3.
May we get a motion to approve items 11.1 through 11.3?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Ryan, Ms. Falkenberg, any questions or comments?
Just thank you to Ms. Moles for, I know she's always very conscientious about, making sure our students get the services and that they need, and sometimes it just doesn't work out.
That's correct.
Item 11? No, item 12.
Yep.
12.
Yep,
That's us.
that's them, yep.
Item 12, Board of Education.
Oh,
May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs.
that's why
Ryan,
we're all here.
Mrs. Ryan, Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Ms. King.
Aye.
Item 12, Board of Education. Do we have any information that the board wants to release? Anybody?
After prom is coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and prom, May 5th, right? Friday. And I know that Brush PTA and Ms. Sidek is looking for help on Thursday and Friday to help set up, because it is going to take place here at the high school, so.
Who's up for May Council? Is that you?
Yes.
So just a heads up too, I believe the night of the city council meeting, I don't believe we'll be able to give a report. If we do, it'll be very slim, but that is the state of the city address by the mayor. He has invited us to be there, you got that? So I
I
will be
did.
there, so if you wanna still come, feel free. But I do believe they'll be doing it in the,
Community center.
community center
Okay.
instead of council chambers. I do remember that.
I will be attending as well.
That's
Yes.
Linders.
Lyndhurst, yes. Senior Awards Night, I think we all got invitations for
Yes.
that, May 11th. Granted, that'll be after our board meeting, but I'm just trying to go down my list. What else? Something else. Oh! Happy happy birthday to Chet Mason. Today is his birthday. So he's been parading around the city. People have been saying happy birthday to him. So he's popular tonight. I hope you're listening, Mr. Mason. Happy birthday to you. And in the same breath, the program we have utilized, I don't know if it's still here, I Am Bella.
You know,
Are we still utilizing I Am Bella?
I believe we are. Yeah.
Okay, so Selena, I believe
Yes.
her name is.
Mhm.
Just keep their family in your prayers. So Selena is Sonny Johnson's
Yes.
sister as well. Their father passed away.
Yeah.
I know he was very active in their lives, and it's a very big loss. He has poured into a lot of students turned now adults, and a lot of mentorship going on. And
Including our own Chet Mason.
Yes.
He meant a lot to him as well. So it was
So,
a
yes.
bittersweet day to celebrate your birthday and also lose a loved one that was a big part of your life.
yes,
So,
so I wanted to bring that to the attention of them too. So if they are listening, sometimes people do. We just want to keep them in our thoughts. And I think that is all I have. Our next board meeting is May 9th. And that's all.
and then we got some policies.
We've got policies here. 12.3, board policies, policy adoption. South Eagle Lyndhurst Board of Education approves the following board policies that were previously presented for first reading and preliminary review. Policies are listed as below. I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 revisions. So we'll take a look at those. And go ahead.
The only thing I want to mention, policy 8390, where it says animals on the district property, that is not, I just want people to know that it does not address therapy dogs. It addresses other folks. We are still working on, Ms. Thompson and I think Amanda Morris are working on to have a separate policy. This is kind of a new one because usually we work with Neola and they give us the policy number, but we're kind of creating our own. Based on other policies that we've seen, so we'll, I'd look to have that in place before the end of the school year. At least put a policy in front of the board, maybe by June. And then this way, we go into next school year, we'll be prepared.
Thank you. If I see another dog in the grocery store in the cart that I'm putting my groceries in.
Yeah, so,
Thank you for that update, Dr.
all
Reed.
right.
I mean, we have all these good facilities and we keep them up. We want to keep them up. So we
Yeah.
need to put policies in place
Yes.
to prevent those kind of things. So I appreciate that. May we get a motion to approve item 12.3?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Ryan, Ms. King. Any questions or comments?
Nope.
Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
Ms. King,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones.
Aye. And that is weird. Any more, do we have any public comment, Mr. Hill?
None.
None. Hearing no public comment, I do believe there is not a need for executive session tonight. We will update accordingly as we proceed if that is needed. And hearing that,
Everybody's smiling.
may we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. King, Ms. Falkenberg, it is now 6:04. Thank you for joining us. We will see you on our next board meeting. Like, share, and subscribe.
All in favor?